Hello and welcome to Talk from Superheroes. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Ivemy.
And I'm Diana McCullum.
And you're listening to Talk from Superheroes, where every week we discuss a piece of heroic television or film. And this week we are talking about the third in a series of film, not a trilogy quite. It's something. It's 28 years later is what we'll be talking about this week.
Not a trilogy, a franchise.
Certainly a franchise.
Certainly a franchise. One of those weird ones where it has jumped back to the original creators.
Yes.
But not after too long a gap. Only after one movie that didn't have the original creators. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not too long of a creative gap, I suppose. I'm like, it has been many years.
It's been about 28 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Usually there's 4 or 5 movies in between before they admit that no one else can do this.
Right. That they're like, we need to give it back.
We need to give it back. But Danny Boyle and Alex Garland were back for 28 years later.
Yeah. It's only been 23 years.
I know,
since the original,
but I wish it was 20.
You got to round it off though to a 20-something. It's closer to years than months. But yeah, we have Danny Boyle and Alex Garland back for this third installment of the franchise. It is a new movie, and as we do anytime we talk about new movies or television shows, we like to give you a spoiler-free review. So in case you're on the fence about watching it, not sure if it's worth your time, or just want a little taste of it maybe while you're on your way to the theater, we will give you a spoiler-free review. Then once you hear the theme music, we will be entering the spoiler-filled section. Before we even give you the spoiler-free review, though, I want to let our fans know if you are in the Vancouver area, I will be there performing a special one-night-only performance on July 19th, Saturday, July 19th at Chillax Studios in Vancouver. Get your tickets now. There'll be a link in the show description, the episode description. There'll also be on my website, andrewivemy.com, or anywhere across my socials. Vancouver, I don't make it to you often enough. I only get out maybe once a year. So if you're a fan, you're in the area, be sure to get your tickets and please make it on out because we want to see. I want to see some wonderful, supportive faces. July 19th in Vancouver.
We want to see those Talk from Superheroes fans, and we can't stress enough. It's one night only.
One night only.
Just that one chance.
It's just that one chance. And we have some amazing special guests who are going to be coming by. A friend of the podcast who was on a very early episode and Juno Award winner for Best Comedy Album, Ivan Decker, will be on the show. We're going to have some other surprise guests for you lined up. So get on out and check it out. But now let's get into a spoiler-free review for 28 years later. Diana, did you like it?
I did like it. I'm going to give it a good to fine. It is a movie that I think diminishes as it goes, because I would say the first act was a love, and then as it went, it kind of lost me. I would think there was kind of too many morals and themes that they're hitting on, none of which are too clear to me. Characters that I like started making decisions that I didn't like in ways that I don't think was purposeful for me as an audience. So I think the first act is really good. It's just good action. It's good character development. It's good zombies. It feels like 28 days later. And then as it goes, it loses me a little in Act 2 and 3. So I think it diminishes as it goes. And then it has just a crazy ending that, not in a fun way, in a way that I'm just like, what just happened? So I guess spoilers for the vague thing I just said about the ending. But yeah, so I really enjoyed the first act. And then once we get to Act 2 and 3, I was like, oh, this isn't what I thought this movie was going to be, and this isn't compelling me. But I could see it compelling other people. It wasn't for Diana's. Andrew, how did you feel about 28 years later?
I liked it. I really liked it. I didn't love it because it's just not necessarily in the sweet spot for me. It's not in the pocket for what it is that I'm super into. But I really like it. I think it's smart. I think it's art. I could see myself rewatching this every few years or something like that. It's not something that's going to be a rainy day staple, but I quite enjoyed it. I think it was smart. It was fun. But also doesn't take itself too seriously as well. It's artistic and challenging, but not so much so that it's not difficult to approach. It meets you on your level and then just takes you weird places. And I think for anyone who was a fan of the first movie, then you would like this. Because I think that artistically, the first one is weirder than most people remember. I know we didn't cover it on the podcast, but the first film, I'm like, there's weird watercolor painting foreground stuff. There's goofy moments. There's strange moments. You know, the moments with the military at the end of the first movie feel, frankly, like a different movie than the first half. This does a lot of the same stuff. Two strangely different acts, which have strangely different tones and themes, and some weird artistic choices that are just kind of startling and strange, or artistic and pretty, and don't care to explain themselves to you. Fuck you, have fun with it or don't. And I think that this is like what the first film was, and not like what people remember the first film to be. So I think that it's very interesting. I think it's very interesting. And some good performances in here, too.
I also think it's interesting, and it's not interesting in a way that interests me, though. As a person who really loves Danny Boyle, like, he's made some of my favorite...
You like him more than I do.
I love Danny Boyle. I think 28 Days Later is amazing. I love Trainspotting. I love Shallow Grave. I love A Life Less Ordinary. Like, I like his flops. Like, his flops speak to me. Sunshine's one of my top 5 favorite movies. But yeah, this one, it doesn't. Other than the first act, I'm like, oh, I don't like these. And it might be writing, and I don't even think it's bad. It's more just like, this isn't getting me, but I bet it gets other people. And one of them's across the table from me right now.
Yeah. I
the artistic choices are especially there in the first act. They kind of fade away a little more as we go. But I really like the first act.
I really like Boyle and Garland together as writer-directors. Is that, like, I think they play into each other's strengths very well, and we can get more into that, but I also just kind of... I like writer-director combos that pair together really well, and the industry is moving so much towards the myth of the auteur, of the, like, the writer is the director and the director is the writer, and whether that's true or not, or there's a ghostwriter involved. But I like them paired up. I think they balance each other's different kinds of weird obsessives out really well. Yeah, it's like how my favorite Fincher movie is my favorite Sorkin. It's like The Social Network is the best of two of them, and their weirds cancel each other out and make each other better. That's how I feel about this.
That's interesting. Yeah, I can't think of any director-writer combos that I get excited about, except for the Russo brothers and Marcus and McFeely, who do all the Captain Americas and all the Avengers together. And I'm like, those are hits.
Sure.
Those are two groups that work together.
Interesting.
But I can't think of another one off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, and can it be spoiled?
Yeah, I'd say it can be spoiled.
Yeah, I think
I'm walking around a few things right now.
Yeah, we'll figure out a few things in the episode as well. Yeah, there are a few things that are strange, in particular the ending, and that I think that is it important to experience that without any spoilers? I don't know, but it's a big reaction it gets out of the audience, I'll tell you that.
I think I wish I'd known at least that there was going to be a big reaction. So I think we're doing a service right now.
Ooh, interesting.
Everyone, there's a big reaction.
There's a big reaction at the end. Well, let's get into the spoiler-filled section. Let's talk more about 28 years later. All right, we have seen 28 years later, and we both liked it to varying degrees.
We liked it to varying degrees, and now that we're in the spoiler-filled section, the spoiler is not Cillian Murphy. I think that's, if I'd been listening to that, the whole time I would have been like, well, it's Cillian Murphy.
Oh, interesting. Obviously. See, I never expected him in this in any way. It's not that type of movie or franchise, so I never, and like, as soon as fans were like, I think he's in the trailer, I was like, you're all on drugs. In no way would I ever imagine that.
Actually, the fans who thought he was in the trailer and thought he was one of the zombies, I'm actually like, that's actually kind of fun. If he just showed up on set one day and got zombied, not that he was playing his old character.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah,
I could see that.
But he was like, I was one of the zombies.
He does not strike me as that kind of fun actor in any way. Do you know, if someone told me that one of the zombies in this movie was Simon Pegg, who showed up on set one day as a British actor who loves zombie things and made things with influence to 28 Days Later, if someone told me a zombie was Simon Pegg, I would get it. If someone was like, yeah, no, severe Irishman Cillian Murphy showed up, I'd be like, no, he didn't. Not for a goof. No, in no way did he. He does not seem like that man.
And even though he takes his craft very seriously, I don't feel like he's a man who'd like prosthetics. For a cameo, especially.
Yes. Yeah. I don't think he's doing prosthetics. I don't think he's having fun
I
on
don't know.
set.
He showed up for, was it Dark Knight for a few seconds? But that was like just a cameo as Scarecrow. His character was just back.
Interesting. I think that was money, too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
The 28 franchise doesn't have money. It has like product placement sponsorships, and that's what's really keeping them afloat. That
Dark Knight cameo might have paid for him as much as his entire first movie in Batman Begins paid him. You know what I mean? They're like, this is a really expensive one. Get him back for a scene, and they offered a ton of money.
Yeah.
If Boyle calls and is like, "Hey, you want to have fun this week?" Hello. Like the phone is
blocked.
It's disconnected.
He's an executive producer on this movie, but he's still blocked.
The calls go straight
number.
to his agent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Andrew's like, no.
It just doesn't seem right.
Cillian's not interested.
Just doesn't seem like him.
All right. You know, I can't disagree. Now that I've said it out loud, I'm like, you know what? He's not like that.
That's not who he is. That's not who this dude is. This is a movie starring Aaron Taylor Johnson, Jodie Comer, and I forget the name of the child actor.
Alfie.
And just Alfie?
Alfie Williams. I believe. He's also low on my IMDb, but I can only remember the first name.
Because I guess you can go by one name, but Alfie Williams. So
Alfie Williams and Ray Fiennes at the end.
Yes.
Now I would say, since we're on that topic of
Ralph. It's Ralph.
I thought it was Rafe.
Rafe Fiennes.
I'm pretty sure Rafe. It's not Ralph. That L.
I didn't know that. The L's gone. Get the fuck out of here.
Get rid of the L. So yes, since we're on the cast, I will say, what I was talking about with Act 1 is I think as soon as Aaron Taylor Johnson leaves this movie, I get a little out of it. And not just because I need Aaron Taylor Johnson specifically, I'm not like he's carrying this movie, but I think just having him clearly seem to be the lead for the first act and then totally disappear, I guess I was just like, when's he coming back? Or have we totally dropped him out of this? It was not jarring, but maybe it could have been more jarring because I was just sitting there like, when's Aaron Taylor Johnson going to show up? And like, because they made a big speech about like, we won't come out and get you. I'm like, but I bet he's going to go out and get his kid. And I just kept expecting him to be there.
I think that's the obvious choice, which is why they didn't do it.
You know what? And that's totally these two guys.
Yeah, they don't do the obvious choice. I think that the very and like I don't want to say predictable necessarily with a negative connotation, because things can be predictable but also warm and wonderful and expected but in the most delightful way, or comforting, or even just things can be expected but executed in an interesting way as well. But I think that is the setup of the like, people can leave this community but we will never come find you if you do. Oh no, your dad's coming to find you. It does feel the very straightforward story. I mean, hell, it's damn near close to what The Last of Us Season 2 was, of the like, no, we're not voting to go get you. Oh no, someone's going to get you. That is a very well-trodden storyline, which I think is why they didn't do it. But it also felt very reminiscent to 28 Days Later for me, where 28 Days Later feels very much a found family road trip story. And then there's a weird military sexual assault second act that goes on forever that feels wildly disconnected. Like, it's about found family and then it becomes about the horrors of man. And this kind of feels like that to a certain degree. Not those exact same themes, but in the switching to a wildly different gear mid-film. And I think it works as well with Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think, giving a really good performance, and then being kind of a face actor and a known commodity and name, something that the audience kind of connects to or buys a ticket for. And also something that relieves a little bit of the pressure off of a child actor, which is like, if you have a child actor carry a movie, there's so much pressure to be like, is this our generation's next great talent, or is this movie shit? And those are the two options.
Those are the two options. That's it.
But if you have Aaron Taylor Johnson giving a great performance and setting this kid up for success and then handing off the reins, I think it gets the best out of this young performer. and it allows the audiences to relax and get to know and be more welcoming of this kid as a main character, and without so much pressure, both in the movie theater and in a broader social context as well.
Yeah, those are great points, and I pretty much agree, and still just don't like it that much, because I think Act 1 does this great thing of children in children in horror, children in action movies, when they're just shitty, it's when you hate them. When they we watched 28 Weeks Later right before this, and those kids just go off the rails and do whatever they want. We're like, we hate these kids. There's a quarantine happening, whatever.
A terrible movie.
Also just a terrible movie all around, except for the first scene, which was directed by Alex Garland. So there you go. But yeah, in this movie, I really love the introduction of Spike, the kid, because he's responsible. He's trying his best. But I also really like Aaron Taylor-Johnson as the dad. He's training him, but not in this super strict way, but in a way that he has to survive. But he's also very forgiving. The fact that he's not mad at him when he's missing shots and when he's trying his best. He's you're just human. You hit a couple and you managed it. I'm so proud of you. And so he's built up as this great dad that I really support. So
tough dad, but good tough dad.
Good apocalypse dad.
Yeah.
The firm hand you need in the apocalypse. So I really liked this relationship. Both the actors were going great. So then once it becomes about the mom, I was this movie was not about the mom. And I get what you're saying about how 28 Days Later also just changes track very quickly. But it doesn't change over character that quickly unless what character's been killed. I think if Aaron Taylor-Johnson had died, I'd be well, that I understand why we've done this. It's the fact that he's alive and just not around that made me just kind of drop off my interest of oh, I thought this was about a father and son.
Right, and it becomes a coming-of-age road trip movie.
Yeah, about his relationship with his mom more than anything.
Yeah, it becomes like Zombie Rain Man a little bit of this bonding road trip familial journey.
But I also think Act 1 had more of the cool Danny Boyle stuff, when they're crossing the Cascade Bridge or whatever it's called. They had a cool word for it that I can't remember. The walkway to the mainland, and they're intercutting all of his training with this Rudyard Kipling poem that's going crazy and going to film footage of the military. I'm this is the cool shit that Danny Boyle does that I love. This weird editing.
And then later, the intercutting to infrared footage of zombies that aren't there and are just kind of a conceptual reminder to the audience of the horrors that exist in the world.
Yeah, we're not going to actually see this as characters, but this is what's happening in the world, and this is what used to happen in the past, and this is what's happening on the island while they're gone. It's this crazy editing perspective of the entire world that gives you such a good worldview of where we are. And I think honestly a lot of that also goes away after Act 1. So I'm an Act 1 truther. Interesting. Yeah,
I find that those Boyleisms are really interesting. The way that it's cut, how quick some of the shots are, cutting to stock footage and interstitial stuff of random wars, military training, random archers as well. There are times, and the original movie felt like this too, where there are times where it feels damn near Monty Python animated interlude, but incredibly horrific.
A little bit, yeah. It's a very British movie.
It is very British, isn't it?
There's a reason that this franchise does not want to leave this island.
And it's something that I normally dislike, but it works in this really sweet spot of telling you to think about the themes it makes it clearer and also muddier at the same time, where they're just okay, and now this society is kind of regressed into an old school caste system with 9 jobs, and that's kind of a regression of society. So we're showing you stock footage of medieval times, and I'm okay, so this is about how without technology society regresses, and then the movie's yeah, I don't know, maybe we did show you some knights for a second, didn't we?
There were knights here. Yeah, there's a lot of themes in this movie.
They kind of give it to you, but then take it away in a weirdly confusing way.
When you get one of those dessert platters and literally every dessert's different? There's no dessert repeated. So you're it's here you go. They're all delicious, but you only get a little bit of each. It's one of the movie does that, because I'm what are the themes here? Because I think at the end it's a coming of age story, as you said. It's a leaving childish things behind, which is very Very well done at the beginning when he doesn't bring his toy with him. Like, he's a man now. He doesn't bring his toy on his mission with him. I really like that aspect. But then it's like, I guess the message is mercy to the infected because we saved this baby. Ray Fiennes says something that's like, remember you'll die, but also remember that there's love. I'm like, there needs to be love in society. Excellent. I got it. And then there's other stuff going on. There's like the mom at one point seems to have a superpower, which she kills that one zombie while her kid's asleep. I'm like, I don't know what that was all about.
I actually don't know what that was all about now that you say it.
Cancer gives you the ability to kill zombies real good for a second?
Or she was just protecting him and lied, and that was it.
She was.
It was
Probably
supposed to
didn't
be-
even remember, but it was filmed in the way of like, maybe she's mildly infected and actually can do some stuff.
Yeah, was it supposed to be representative of the cancer that she had, of her protecting him from the knowledge of the disease that is creeping ever closer?
Oh, creeping ever closer and might
Question
eat him?
mark? Yeah, the introduction of a franchise known for fast-moving zombies introducing a slow crawling virus that does nothing but get bigger and more bloated and is more dangerous but moves incredibly slowly.
Oh shit. The fat ones are the
fat ones are a personification of cancer.
I think that's actually pretty cool.
But I can't help but say everything with a raised question mark at the end.
Because she does successfully kill one.
She does successfully kill one. Yes.
You would
Or
think
at least
they should be really hard to kill, like the alpha.
But she doesn't tell her son that she has cancer. And it's her protecting him from the knowledge of the truth of the world.
Maybe tell him so he doesn't go on this long
Also
journey.
tell him, for fuck's sakes, yes.
One of you explain what cancer is.
One of you need to explain.
Now, talking about things that like are good, but maybe don't fit the movie. But I think it does fit the movie now that you've pointed out the 28 Days Laterness of it. There is a very funny element of this movie when a man who lives in a world with technology and like the internet meets a child who's never done it and thinks that his girlfriend is like having an allergic reaction to shellfish. It isn't pretty at all.
Very funny.
Wildly funny and really putting some perspective on like reality in a weird way.
I really love Eric or Irvik.
Or whatever your name was, Eric.
Oh, yeah. A Swedish Eric. I love it was the right amount of comedic relief. I will say that. Like 10 minutes in the middle of the movie is the only time the theater made any sound and they were laughing. And I was like, this is the comedic relief sweet spot. He does great.
The comedic relief sweet spot of like, you like him, you're glad there's an extra person here for a minute. But when he dies, you're like, well, yes, of course. It is a bit predictable, as you said, like these two are usually a little bit less predictable of like, well, we can't kill the two mains in the zombie land. We need to introduce a third person to get killed while they're here.
Yes. Yeah.
So slightly predictable in that way, but like a nice breath of fresh air of like, oh, we're not dealing with the confusion from the cancer for a bit. We're not completely helpless. We now have a man with a gun who's here. We can discuss the world a little bit more.
Yeah.
A really good exposition also as well when you introduce someone from off the mainland of like, what's with the fat ones?
Like, what is going on here? What's that all about?
Why is that one
Oh, represents
alpha?
cancer or whatever.
And the alphas are steroids for some reason.
And the alpha are steroids. Yeah, I think the movie at large has something to say about toxic masculinity and about alpha masculine culture and the fear of technology or society when in reality without it is just a regression. Like having this soldier be like, I made fun of my buddy for being a delivery guy. What is that? Oh no, that actually is good. Like delivering packages actually holds value and maybe running off with a gun doesn't. And learning that, and also just like the regression of this surviving society as well, kind of falling back into something that is more of a caste system and assigned roles and fewer freedoms than what it is that we currently have. And then having every group of zombies now has an alpha, which is bigger, stronger, and more violent than anyone else. So it feels like it has something to say about toxic masculinity.
Oh, does it though? Because I wasn't sure if the community had like a caste system where they choose your role for you, or if they're just like, these are the options and you choose.
Right.
Because I would understand that every child has to learn how to kill zombies, but I don't think that's going to be your full-time job no matter what.
I think that is maybe some people's full-time jobs.
You think that's why there's like such a big party for him at the end?
Yeah,
like
I think that those are like the hunters that they have or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. It's strange.
Yeah, they didn't make it super clear that it wasn't his choice.
Yeah, but fewer roles.
Fewer roles, yes. If you can fit it all on a wall with like 12 pictures.
Yeah.
Fewer roles.
You're not encouraged to pursue your passions.
Yes.
No one's.
None of them said theater or writer.
Unless, some people's passion is to be a tailor or seamster, in which case that job was on the board and available. Some people, there will be a sweet spot coincidence happening.
If you've never heard of acting, you don't want to be an actor.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. They're just not going to know a lot of these
Someone will at some point.
Someone will invent acting again.
Everybody pretends to do stuff at some point in their lives. You know what I mean? There's no world without acting. And I think aside from like the writing structure as well, which like there's a couple different rhythms and beats, which we were kind of talking about going on here. Visually, it's just a stunning movie. Like this, the main community lives on like an island that is, I forget, like a channeled peninsula. I forget the type of term for whatever this is, but it's an island where there is a small walkway that is available during low tide that leaves during high tide. A channeled peninsula, I don't know what the hell. There is a term, I'm sorry. And they live on that. And there is a shot of like when they are running, when Aaron Taylor Johnson and his son are running across with the Alpha following them, and it looks like a speedster running on water. Mm-hmm. It is so horrifying, and just like the sky, the stars, and the sky, and the aurora borealis, as it felt ethereal, but also groundedly horrifying, where I'm like, run faster through the concept of the solar system that it looks like you're running in.
Yeah, it was beautiful and artistic, but also everything like made sense and was grounded. It's like, yes, the Alpha can run super fast. The little walkways, there's a little bit of water, so water's splashing off, and it's beautiful because it's reflecting off the moonlight so you can see from all this distance away where they are where each of them are on the long walkway and how fast the Alpha's catching up with them with his real Tom Cruise run, arms
but
straight,
heavy as hell.
But heavy as hell.
Heavy.
You know if he hits you, you're dead. Like he doesn't even have to rip you apart. He's just gonna barrel through you. So yeah, it's this really beautiful, but like also you're like, oh my God, they're gonna die. And what are they gonna do? Are they gonna dive into the water? Or like are they gonna shoot them from the wall? It's a stunning scene. Yeah, Danny Boyle knows how to shoot a scene.
It looks
every
great.
scene, because all the action scenes, everything with just like the wide sweeping green, and just like makes you feel like, oh yeah, I want to be outside, even though it's full of zombies.
Even just some of the strange camera angles that are chosen, some weird POV shots, some shots from a bow looking back at the character, some weirdly wide and obstructed shots as well. Like there's some shots during that opening sequence of like the kids in the church where it's just like, it feels like it's shot from 50 kilometers away, but through two trees in the distance, and you can just see a fraction of a window, and they're like, that's the shot. What does that mean? I don't know, but it's just these gorgeous choices. Yeah.
It's definitely a gorgeous movie that's made choices.
Everything's very intentional.
It's very intentional. And I don't know what some of the intention is. Like, I don't know what the baby's about.
I don't know.
I don't like how sure they are that it's not infected. Very rude to just leave that on the doorstep of your community.
It's the magic of placenta, according to the doctor.
And he can't be wrong. He's covered in oil.
Iodine.
Iodine. Is that not an oil?
It is not. It is not.
No, it's not. But yes, he's theorized it. So sure, right. That baby doesn't have any kind of disease
Iodine's
whatsoever.
a very British choice as well. I feel like Canada is very hydrogen peroxide for like a disinfectant, antibacterial
well, is it
liquid.
Always orange?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It dyes
well,
you.
then I see why we've moved away from it.
Yeah, it just does that to you. Yeah, I don't know. Britain feels very iodine, America feels very rubbing alcohol, and Canada is very hydrogen peroxide. It's weird that we each have. I'm sure that there must be some kind of an original access to resource reason that we're all like this, but
yeah, the baby was interesting because normally when a baby is born, birthed by a zombie, it's like that's the movie. It's Ellie from Last of Us. It's whoever that kid was in Walking Dead, Norman Reedus, Daryl Dixon, and then Yeah, there was a kid who was like had the same in Daryl's show.
Oh, I don't remember. Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah, he was French.
I thought you were talking about Daryl himself was born of a zombie or something.
No. In Daryl's show,
yes,
there was
I
a
remember
baby
this
who was
now.
born of a
It was
zombie.
French or something.
Yeah, it was French. So that was most of it. Most of the powers came from the Frenchness.
Yeah.
But yeah, normally the movie's about that. Even 28 weeks later is about the fact that like you can be a carrier and not be infected. I'm like, well, that kid.
Yes.
That kid for sure is a carrier and not infected. When we see like another movie, it's going to be like, well, your community's dead.
Yeah.
You released a baby that was definitely infected into it.
And not to think too much about the canon of this franchise, because as we will discuss this in a minute, there are backflipping Jimmies with magical weapons at the end of this. So we don't need to think too hard about the canonization of it, because some of the shots don't make sense. Some of it features stock footage of medieval weaponry or Monty Python sketches, and then there's backflipping Jimmies. But in 28 weeks later, they kind of established this thing where it's like the dad, even as a rage monster, is following and hunting his kids.
Yes, he is.
I think that's what they were doing with the alpha in this, but they never go anywhere or do anything with it, where like after they take what I think is the alpha's baby,
I agree.
the alpha keeps hunting them, even though it's clearly never come into the doctor's territory before, and wants that baby back and is going to be following them. And I'm like, okay, so I don't know what that is trying to say about anything, because they just kind of move on past it.
Yeah, because as I discussed earlier, this movie very quickly stopped being about like father-child relationships. But yeah, and also it was like, it was clearly, I agree, the alpha was clearly chasing them for the baby. So like another reason that community is going to get wiped out.
Or they're going to protect them, because clearly they can handle an alpha running full speed across that bridge.
They can't handle it. I mean, but sometimes they don't notice anything. Apparently Spike got all the way over there and no one saw anything.
Sure.
So they're just napping sometimes,
Yeah.
even though an alpha showed up like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
So they're not completely crushing it as much as they want you to think they're crushing it over on their little island. What was the point I was getting at? Oh, yeah. Oh, and then if you drug an alpha, why don't you kill it?
Why not kill it? I think the doctor has a Hippocratic oath. Like, it might be implied that he hasn't been killing.
He can't have that many, doesn't he? No, he kills to protect them. No, he doesn't. They just show up.
Yeah.
No,
he just tranked darts.
Eric killed.
I think he is meant to be the like.
He can't have survived that long out there and not killed anything.
Again, I think we need to not think of the reality and think of the fact that this man is a personification of the idea of a doctor, I believe, one who acknowledges both the power of life and death, and who spends a career, the concept of a doctor spends a career embracing both, is, I think, what his character is meant to be.
That's interesting. Now, I will say
Fiennes?
they also did avoid a trope. Rafe
Rafe.
Fiennes. They also did avoid a trope with the doctor that I always hate. So I will give them that credit of not doing the expected, because when the alpha comes the second time and like reaches into the hole they're in and is like seems like he's going to kill the doctor, I was like, I always really hate when someone survived for like 30 or 40 years and then they die the second they meet the main character. It's like, no, they have ways to survive. They have plans. So I was glad that he didn't actually die on that one. I really was expecting and the kid's alone with the baby now. So good for Rafe for making it out.
I agree. Good for Rafe in every regard for making it out. And yeah, I like his character. I like his performance. I think that's a beautiful sequence in the middle.
I also like his performance a lot. It is an interesting character on paper. Yeah, it didn't do a lot for me, even though I was like, he's crushing it. I like this is comforting. He's not crazy enough. I'm like, you should just be on the island. You're not crazy at all. You've just come up with a hobby.
Well, I think that's why he's not on the island. Is that I do think that the island is supposed to represent the regression of society in a world without technology or communication among other villages. And even the fact that Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, Jamie, not Jimmy, Jamie.
We'll get into that.
Jamie, if you say it quickly, Jamie, that he tells this story where he's like, no, he's horrifying, he's scary. I saw him and he was around death and comfortable with death and we ran away. The fact that they're a society that is afraid of science and afraid of medicine and afraid of doctors, both like literally. They literally see someone who is unmoved by life and death, and they run away afraid and are unwilling to confront medical science. And I think that's supposed to represent the regression of their society, that there's no real boogeyman. There's no real any reason for a guy as tough as Aaron Taylor Johnson's character to be afraid of, like, that guy. He was just moving bodies and he was unaffected. Be like, you've seen way worse, other than the fact that that's meant to be a representation of you being afraid of medical science and being afraid of doctors.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I sincerely hadn't thought of it that way, because to me this was, I guess Aaron Taylor Johnson did see him personally, because this to me was supposed to be more of a, like, the boogie stories you heard are just people.
Right.
Like, you can't, like, you know, sometimes, this is a terrible comparison. It reminded me of Home Alone when they say the next door neighbor is a serial killer and he's just a guy salting driveways because he's nice.
I love that. I love that. You know what? I wouldn't have gone there, but that's a very apt comparison.
Literally,
I think that's
as
terrific.
soon as they were like, oh, he's our creepy neighbor who burns bodies, I'm like the Home Alone neighbor. He's going to end up being nice.
Awesome.
It's a classic.
Awesome.
It's a well-done film.
It works on every level.
But your personification of the theme is that they're scared of medicine. It's probably more accurate than my theory that they were inspired by Home Alone, and gossip isn't what you should believe about people.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I think that's also a good and true theme. Don't believe gossip. Don't panic. But yeah, I think a husband afraid to go see a doctor and being scared of medical science, I think, is probably a bigger point around toxic masculinity that this film wants to make.
Okay, because to me there can be a very, like, human reason for that, of like a man doesn't want to see a doctor because the truth is so terrifying.
Oh, I think that's also true, too.
The mom won't even admit to it, like, that she has cancer, even though she seems to absolutely know
that is a good
cancer.
Point. That is a good point.
So there's a lot of humanity in this movie about zombies.
Yeah. She knows it, but she's afraid to tell her son.
Yeah. So because she's also terrified to be on the mainland when he brings her over. Like, she's not very excited to see this doctor. She's not like, great, I'll be cured.
She's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, if that's what you need, Spike.
Yep. Yeah, I actually thought it was going to be a representation of dementia until they got there, and it turned out to be cancer. I was expecting a dementia.
Dementia. I thought she had a brain tumor. So none of us are doctors.
But none of us are doctors.
Breast cancer.
Breast cancer. Didn't see that coming.
Breast cancer.
Or, in a conjunction with other cancers. Rich with cancers. Rich with, which is not what you want to be rich with. And then I think the other big thing that we haven't talked about yet is the Jimminess of it all.
The Jimminess of it all.
For those of you who didn't see it, the beginning of the movie starts with this child, Jimmy. Jimmy in a room full of other children. And they're all watching the Teletubbies, and it's the day of, or close to, within that first area of...
I would say the first 28 days.
The first 28 days of infection. And parents are running in and out, and they're like, oh my God, stay in this room, lock the door, watch your Teletubbies. Jimmy gets up. Jimmy manages to survive while all these other kids are murdered, while all the other parents in the room are murdered. Jimmy runs to a church where his father, the father, is there.
Father.
A double father is there, and he's like, Dad, help. And the dad's just a crazy person who's like, it's the rapture. It's so awesome that this is here. It rules.
You're not even paraphrasing.
Yeah.
It's basically what he said.
Wicked. This is great. Awesome.
We did it.
What a great day. He's very excited.
Big day for fathers.
Yeah. And then gives his son his cross and is like, hide. It doesn't even tell him hide. Jimmy just hides and with his dad's cross. And then sees his dad get bitten, and then a bunch of rage monsters leave. And then it cuts to 28 years later, a title card, and we see Aaron Taylor Johnson now as a character. And his name in the credits, he's credited as Jamie. But we just saw Jimmy as a kid, and now we got Jamie. And when you add into the Scottish accent, it's a bunch of people being like, Jimmy, Jimmy, Jimmy.
Yeah.
And so,
or it's like the mom like yelling it in pain, and it's just getting mumbled and
Jimmy,
getting screamed.
And so I'm like, maybe this is just our, Canadian ears not be like, maybe a bunch of people in the UK would be like, it's clearly a Scotsman saying Jamie, but even
These
Jamie,
are two very different names.
but even Jamie, it's like maybe as a kid he went by Jimmy, maybe later he went by Jamie.
He said 28 years.
We're meant to believe it's the same character, and it is not.
It's absolutely
It is
not.
absolutely
and
not.
You know what? That's on us. They never showed him with a cross, which is how you would identify a child character as an adult later. They love to
we
give
see
them,
him given the cross,
yeah,
the gold cross.
They love to give a kid a thing to be like, that's him as an adult. So they never do that. But there is definitely just an implication of that's Jimmy/Jamie.
That's film language. We cut from a kid a card that says 28 years later, and now the next character we see as an adult, we are meant to impose that it's the same character.
They even do a very clever thing that I realize now. When they find the guy who's like alive and hanging and he's had a name carved into him.
Yeah.
And I realize now it says Jimmy, but you only see IMMY and the first letter was covered up.
I thought it was I'm my, and I was like, why does he say I'm my?
I thought it said Timmy, and like I was just like, and I'm sure there's another letter that you just can't see.
Because we do also see Jimmy graffitied on one of the buildings where it's like the N is nigh Jimmy.
Yeah, we do, because that I thought was just a fun joke because the end is nigh was written in really nice lettering, and then in like shitty graffiti, it
Just said Jimmy.
Jimmy, it's Jimmy time.
And then the movie ends with the kid leaving the village and being like, I'm a wanderer now, and comes across a guy in a tracksuit with a gold tooth wearing the chain from the opening sequence.
And a crown?
And
Please,
a crown.
Please don't forget
He's
he has a
King
crown.
Jimmy,
He's
I guess.
King Jimmy. His tracksuit? Brand new by all appearances.
Brand new velvet tracksuit, and then there's like a dozen people with him, all wearing different color but matching thematically tracksuits, all with weird, interesting themed weapons, like a bagged net. One person has like a push rod that does backflips. They're all Power Ranger flipping, which is funny because the kid has a Power Ranger action figure at the beginning.
Which makes me think for a second he was hallucinating it, but that wasn't what was happening, it seems.
It is filmed like a Power Ranger action sequence, and these characters are all the Jimmies, I guess to be implied from like the cult of Jimmies.
And also I can't stress enough how blonde they were.
They're all blonde.
Just the blondest people.
So the opening sequence did not have any correlation to the middle of this movie. And then it ends with a bananas Power Rangers action scene with a bunch of people named Jimmy in tracksuits with special custom weapons. Mm-hmm. Silly custom weapons. Totally not grounded, not what any of this movie has been. Now, we also know that there's another movie already filmed. And we didn't know this going in.
We didn't know that going in.
And I don't think it's come up in any of the ad campaigns. It was literally like today before we podcasted, I was reading interviews with Danny Boyle and Alex Garland. And they're like, yeah, this is the first of a trilogy. This isn't the third of an original trilogy. This is the first of a new trilogy, the second of which has already been filmed and comes out next year. And it's by a different director. Mm-hmm. And then Danny Boyle apparently is like, the third one, if these both make money, will be made by me, and we know what we're doing. So 2 are in the can, and they're waiting for a green light for the third of its own trilogy. And the next one is about the Jimmies?
The next one is about the Jimmies, but I assume Spike is there because I do actually appreciate filming back to back when you have a kid who will age so quickly.
Oh, that does work great. And
but I think monetarily, huge risk.
They did imply that Spike was there as well.
Yeah, so Spike will be there again, I assume, or else I don't know why you would film them back to back like this. But like, I have never felt more like I just missed something. When all these Jimmies showed up, I'm like, was there like a tie-in comic or like a web series I didn't see about 28 something later, 28 blank later?
I was so enthused.
You were enthused? Are you excited to see the next Jimmy movie? This was a downer for me.
I went through 30 seconds of like, what the fuck? And then like halfway through the Jimmy sequence, I was like, well, fuck yeah, dude. This is what we're doing now. I was in. I'm like, yeah, we don't need to take this too seriously. Of fucking course. Why not have a Power Rangers act? Like the speed of which I went from what to like, yeah, this makes as much sense as anything. Let's do it.
I think for the first time, I would have liked this as an end credit because it didn't fit the rest of the movie I just watched.
Oh.
But if it had been an end credit of, and this is the next movie, it's going to be weird, that's a little bit different. But even though I can get on board with, like, as we've discussed before, that we really like when a franchise has a different tone every movie.
Yes.
It kind of just goes for something different.
Yeah.
So I actually can really get on board with that. If the next one is just totally different kind of zombie movie,
yeah.
I think that's cool. I don't really like it being, like, the thematic end of this movie.
I think it works for Danny Boyle so much. Because I think it's not. I agree with you. I do. We do, and I'm with you there. That like the idea of directors making their own stamp and making varied things and having different styles that can exist, in conjunction with one another and in the same universe.
Think the Alien movies. Think Mission Impossible up until about 5 or 6 movie.
And that's like directors being like, "Here's my thing. Here's my thing. Here's my thing." Where I think Danny Boyle's thing is, "Fuck you. Keep up. I don't
have a thing.
I'm doing whatever." And if you don't like the next director's thing, it's not going to, you as an audience member don't get to say, well, I only like Danny Boyle's version. Because Danny Boyle's version don't give a shit about you. Keep up. And I think that there's something so nice about that to be like, no, you don't get to say that you don't like the next director. I made it weird before they came in. And now go and have fun with them. I'll see you again in a bit.
Now, I wonder, though, since they've already filmed them, I wonder if the other director filmed that scene.
I do wonder about that as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
there's the director is Nia DaCosta, who did The Marvels, a movie I really like, very fun action film. And knowing that Alex Garland filmed the opening of 28 Weeks Later, they're kind of known to we'll let different directors.
Or I think Boyle did the opening to 28 Weeks. Not Garland.
Did Boyle?
I think it was Boyle.
Yeah. But we'll break it up a little. So I'm curious, but it did feel like his weird vibes, though. It didn't fit the tone of the movie that had just happened, but I'm like, but Danny Boyle would film this.
There's a bunch of shit going on with this franchise that I do not understand how they're legally getting away with it. Like, it does seem like, with the exception of my opening joke about Cillian Murphy probably not wanting to hang out, that they're all just hanging out and doing whatever and not getting credit for a bunch of stuff. Where it's like, Danny Boyle reportedly filmed that opening sequence on 28 Weeks Later as a second unit director. And it's like, that's weird. You're the main. I don't even know if the unions would let you do that. On top of that, Alex Garland, who wrote the first movie, does not have a writing credit on 28 Weeks Later, which you should have as the based on the film created by. There should be a based on credit, which he doesn't have in the second movie, which does not make sense for a continuation of the universe. Also, he has the only writing credit, Alex Garland, for this movie, despite the fact in interviews he references other writers' drafts that are still in the finished film. He admits that other writers wrote parts of this, where he says, he's like, oh yeah, Eric and the Swedish, I think they were Swedish, but NATO forces that washed ashore. He was like, that was the original script that we got from someone else. And I just decided to keep those scenes because I thought they did a pretty good job with it. So it's like, in
where's
interview,
and
I'm like, where's that writer's credit? And you did what? And it's not uncommon in Hollywood to have people who touched a script whose name is not credited, ghostwriters or punch up or whatever it might be. But usually it's not something that the final writer will reference in interviews to be like, we had multiple drafts from multiple people. I kept this from that. And in an interview I read, even Alex Garland was like, yeah, the Jimmy thing, it was a setup for a pretty straightforward thing from a different script we had submitted. And I decided to keep it, but end with a weird Jimmy thing because that would be more unexpected. And it's like, okay, so there's pieces here from other people's scripts. And I don't know what's going on there. But also you're writing and directing and not getting credit on other shit. So I don't know if it's stealing as much as it is just you're like, I don't know, man. We all just hang out in a room and are doing whatever whenever.
Yeah, I mean, because, when you're on a TV show, there's a writer's room, but only one writer is credited with the episode, usually. So are the 28 Days Later's movies just writer's room movies where you all throw ideas in?
Yeah, but others aren't getting credits or no story editor, no story by. There's other bylines that you can get, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, maybe it's some kind of maybe the British union rules are different.
Yeah, maybe I don't know enough about what they're doing over there.
What are they doing over there? Because I don't think we watch a lot of things that are just not American. Even like things that star British people are usually like, made by American companies with American
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
equity and union and
Well, and I would say like largely our consumption of British content is British television more than film. You know, like
absolutely. We're Doctor Who, we're variety shows, we're Taskmaster, and
yeah.
Interesting. I think the last thing I need to talk about, and I should have been on it during the doctor part, is just this took me out of a very beautiful moment. She realizes she has cancer, the mom. And she's clearly decided to have some assisted suicide with the doctor, and this is going to be the end of her. And then she sets Spike down, and she walks away. And I think you can have a more dignified death than being blow darted with some morphine by your doctor.
That's how I want to go.
You would though. I don't think this mom does. This mom isn't like, blow dart to the butt, please. That's how I would like to. She wants some dignity and you want fun.
I want whimsy.
You want some whimsy in your death.
I want the hospital to do that for me. Like they come in with a needle and I'm like, nah, you gotta catch me. And I start running down the hall.
They don't have a blow dart ready.
Well, that's their problem. What am I as a taxpayer paying for? All right, if my medical care does not involve blow darts.
I think if you want assisted suicide, you can't be running away. You've got to face it head on.
Fuck, you do got me there. I'm running at. Still blow dart, though. Still blow dart.
That's a great choice.
Still blow dart.
Okay, well, and also the blow dart isn't even what kills you.
Yeah.
It's just morphine. It just helps.
Yeah.
But anyway, because Spike just stabs the alpha with it. I'm like, oh, so it doesn't have to be in a tube.
I assume he gave her like a lethal amount of morphine.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he just like made her sleepy and then threw her in the fire.
I mean, I assume there was more steps that we didn't see. Yeah.
I mean, I just assumed a lethal amount of morphine.
Lethal amount of morphine.
Yeah,
I just didn't think he had a lethal one ready because the one he gave Spike only gave him a little bit of a woo.
Yeah. I assume he's got some multiples or whatever.
He's got different strengths laying around.
Yeah.
Either way. So I will write down, would like
blow dart.
Blow dart.
Blow dart.
No blow dart for me, please.
Okay, no blow dart for you.
I would like just a nice moment.
Because if he has a blow dart, that does tell you that he could just take it out and not blow it.
That's what I'm saying.
A blow dart that isn't blown is just a needle. That's a needle.
He just has needles, and he's chosen to blow dart both of these people. He didn't need to blow dart Spike either. He wasn't that hysterical.
No.
He just likes it.
He does like it.
He really likes it.
Hey.
You got to do what you love. In this world.
The Hippocratic Oath doesn't have anything in it about how you administer medicine. I think it's like, do no harm. There's no like, don't blow dart it.
This is a real Patch Adams loophole you've come up with here.
Yeah. Yep, it works.
The laughter is part of the treatment.
1,000%.
So okay, well, so we're torn on blow dart, but it took me out of the beautiful moment that was happening a little tiny bit.
Love it. Well, let's go into the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change. So now that we've discussed everything we've discussed, what would you change about this if you could change anything? Before we do ask the final question, we will remind you, as we do every week, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict, or wherever you get your podcasts. It helps us move up the charts, find new listeners. It makes it more likely that new listeners will actually hit download and check out the show, and that's how we get new long-term fans like yourself, and it means the world to us. Free way to support the show. But if you do want to support the show monetarily, you can do that over on Patreon, which is a monthly subscription service. Subscribe at whatever is in your budget, and you'll get cool bonuses for doing it. You can get our webcomics early. You can get these episodes early and ad-free. You can get an exclusive episode of this podcast every single month, plus immediate access to the back catalog of all of the previously exclusive episodes to Patreon. So lots of cool options. It's over at patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. That is patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. Go over there, check it out. If you got it a little bit of money in the budget, get some cool bonuses and enjoy the stuff.
It means the world to us, and we do have cool stuff. It could mean the world to you. You could be like, sweet stuff.
Who doesn't love stuff? Over at patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. That is patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. And now, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change? So now that we've discussed everything we've discussed, Diana, what would you change about this movie if you could change anything?
I have a pretty big change, and it's about stuff we didn't really talk about. So one of the other reasons that the first act I liked a lot more is because I liked Spike a lot more. He was responsible. He was doing everything right. It's hard to like a kid in an action movie, and they were doing it right. And then pretty much as soon as he took his mom to the mainland, I was like, fuck this kid. He lights their supply burn on fire, didn't care for that. He left their wall unattended while he stuck his mom out after they'd just been attacked by an alpha. And he also took his sick mom to the mainland where she could have just died. So I really was not on his side for a lot of this. And he kind of lost me as a character because of these choices. So my change is he actually just goes to the mainland alone, and his plan is to bring the doctor back. So his mom doesn't have to go out and travel through these woods while she's dying. So yeah, he goes out alone. He still meets Eric, obviously, maybe even a second guy just to fill out the roster of people who are out there. It's not just him alone for this whole time. I'm going to cut the baby because I don't know what it represents. And I'm actually gonna completely change everything, and he's gonna convince Ray Fiennes to come to the village, and then the village is gonna have a doctor, and it's gonna be great. And I think this woman should also be able to say goodbye to people who aren't her son as she's dying from cancer, because I'm sure other people in the village really liked her and wanted to say goodbye, even her husband Jimmy. Yeah, my change is that he goes alone on this journey of like becoming a man and putting away childish things, and he comes back with a doctor for his mom, and maybe it's even too late. That'd be pretty tragic too, that he didn't make it in time. But I didn't like him putting the village at risk and bringing his mom out. So that's my big change, which is pretty big, I'll admit, but that's what I'm doing here. Andrew, what would you change?
That is a pretty big one. I also thought that at a few different times where I'm like, he could bring it back, but also I got on board with not applying logic to this movie and canon.
Totally fair.
But I do agree that is the more logical and better version. I don't mind him sneaking his mom out because I'm like, that is a problem. But burning down the supplies was one where I'm like, fuck you, dude.
The supply tent?
Fuck you, dude.
There's so many signs that are like, we're low on supplies.
That was uncool. Fuck you, dude. I'm 100% fuck you, dude, on that one.
Cool.
But for me, my change, here's a small one. Change the opening sequence with Jimmy and the other kids who are hiding before that building that they're in gets completely overrun. They're all watching Teletubbies. Change that to Power Rangers. Just change that. I realize that there are copyright, legal reasons, and financial things involved there. Change it to Power Rangers.
If you can play Teletubbies, you can play Power Rangers.
Yes.
People also own Teletubbies.
Because then when we see the kid later with the Power Ranger figure, it would even add more credence to the, like, Aaron Taylor Johnson is Jimmy from the opening sequence. But then it also makes it sillier and crazier later when Jimmy's cult are fighting like fucking Power Rangers for no reason on a hilltop to be like, this is someone who got emotionally stilted into this is what fighting and life looks like. And now also we live in a very heightened weird version of reality that is made by director Danny Boyle. But I think instead of Teletubbies, that opening sequence is a bunch of children watching Power Rangers. And the cult of Jimmy is based on Power Rangers.
I am so on board with this because I love Power Rangers. So if I got a quick hit of Power Rangers in any movie that I'm watching, I'd be like, go Power Rangers. We're in it.
And the cult of Jimmy, it's everyone in matching different color tracksuits with specialized weapons.
It's Power Rangers.
And like it's also Teletubbies also have matching.
They don't have the specialized weapons.
But the specialized weapons and the crazy backflips.
They don't have the bow and the knives and the whistle.
Yep. And the whistle.
Flute.
The flute. Yeah, they do have a flute. So that's my big change.
I love it.
Sweet.
Great. There's Power Rangers in this movie.
There's Power Rangers now.
It would actually genuinely make. Then when Jimmy shows up and is weird like that, I'd be like, well, they seeded it in. You got to give it to him.
It all makes sense. It's all there if you just pay enough attention. Well, that's going to do it for this week on the podcast. Next week, we are going to be back talking about The Lost World, Jurassic Park. So the second Jurassic Park film, building up to the release of the new Jurassic World Rebirth. So next week, we're talking about The Lost World, Jurassic Park. In the meantime, don't forget, if you're in the Vancouver area, I'm performing there on July 19th. There's ticket link in the show episode description, as well at andrewivemy.com or anywhere on my social media. I am at Ivimey, Ivimey.
And you can find me at Words of Diana, all of my stuff, mostly Instagram and Tumblr.
And you can find both of us most places at From Superheroes, and we'll talk to y'all next week.
Bye.